Christmas 1925. I gave my workers something nobody could wrap, and it changed everything about how they lived in 1926. I'm Henry Ford, and what I'm about to tell you isn't a Christmas story. It's a Christmas strategy, a way to use December that most people completely miss. While everyone else celebrates and wastes the last month of the year, I use December to design the next year. Every major thing I built started as a December decision. Not a January resolution, a December decision. And this Christmas, if you're willing to do what I'm going to show you, your next year will be completely different from your previous one. Not because of luck, not because of circumstances, because you're going to use the next few weeks in a way 95% of people never will. Every Christmas I asked myself one question, just one, and that question determined my entire next year. Most people never ask it. They're too busy celebrating, too busy resting, too busy pretending the year went well when it didn't. But this question cuts through all of that. It forces truth. It forces decisions. And if you ask it honestly, it changes everything. So listen carefully, because what I'm about to teach you works. Not someday, starting right now. And if you listen to this every night between now and Christmas, each time you'll hear something new. Something that applies to exactly where you are. Let's begin with what most people get completely wrong about December. Everyone treats December like the end. Like the year is over and all that's left is to celebrate what happened and rest before the next one starts. That's the lie. December isn't the end of anything. It's the beginning of everything. The year isn't over until December 31st at midnight. You still have weeks. And those weeks matter more than the 11 months that came before them. Because December is when you decide what the next year will be. Not hope, not wish, decide. I learned this the hard way. There was a December early in my life when I treated it like everyone else did, celebrated, rested, enjoyed the holiday. Then January came and I had no plan, no direction, no clarity about what I was building. I wasted the first 3 months of that year just trying to figure out what I should be doing. 3 months gone because I'd wasted December. I never made that mistake again. Every December after that, I used the last month to design the next year. While everyone else was celebrating, I was planning. While they were resting, I was deciding. While they were looking back at what happened, I was looking forward at what would happen. And that difference, that one shift in how I used December, changed everything. Not just 1 year, every year. Because when January 1st arrived, I wasn't starting from zero like everyone else. I was already 30 days into execution. I'd made the decisions in December. January was just action. Most people waste December, then spend January making resolutions they'll break by February. I spent December making decisions I'd execute starting January 1st. Same calendar, completely different results. And here's what makes this powerful. December is when everyone else stops paying attention. They're distracted, celebrating, busy with family and traditions and obligations. Nobody's watching what you're doing. Nobody's asking about your progress. Nobody's expecting anything from you. That invisibility is valuable. You can use December to do serious work while everyone thinks you're just celebrating like them. You can make hard decisions while they're making small talk. You can design your entire next year while they're wrapping presents and going to parties. Every Christmas I sat down alone. Not at the dinner table with family. Alone. In my workshop. With paper and pen. And I asked myself one question. The same question every year. Who do I want to be when I'm sitting here next Christmas? Not what do I want to have. Not what do I want to accomplish? Who do I want to be? That question is different from goals. Goals are about what you get. Identity is about who you become. And who you become determines what you can get. Most people set goals for the new year. I want to make more money. I want to lose weight. I want to start a business. Those are fine, but they're backwards. You don't get different results by setting different goals. You get different results by becoming a different person. The person you are right now created the results you have right now. If you want different results, you need to be a different person. So the question isn't what do you want in next year? The question is, who do you need to become before next Christmas to deserve the life you want? That word deserve matters. You don't get what you want, you get what you've become. If you want a successful business but you're still the person who plays it safe and avoids risk, you won't get the business. Not because you're unlucky, because you're not the person who builds businesses yet. If you want financial freedom but you're still the person who spends everything you make and avoids hard conversations about money, you won't get freedom. Because you're not the person who handles money well yet. The life you want requires a version of you that doesn't exist yet, and the question forces you to see that clearly. Who do I want to be next Christmas? When you answer that honestly, you see the gap, the distance between who you are now and who you need to become. And that gap is what you work on for the next 12 months. I remember one Christmas in particular. I was sitting in my workshop, asked myself the question, who do I want to be next Christmas? And the answer that came was uncomfortable. I want to be someone who built something that mattered, not just worked on it, built it, completed it, made it real. That meant I had to become someone who finished things, and I wasn't that person yet. I was someone who started things, who had ideas, who planned, but I didn't finish. I'd start a project, get excited, then move to the next idea before completing the first one. That pattern had been running for years, and it was keeping me from building anything that lasted. Sitting there that Christmas, I had to admit that, had to see it clearly. I wasn't the person who finished things, and if I wanted to build something that mattered, I needed to become that person in the next 12 months. That clarity hurt, but it also focused me. I knew exactly what I needed to work on, not 10 things, one thing. Become someone who finishes. Every decision I made in 1926 went through that filter. Does this help me become someone who finishes, or does it distract me? If it distracted, I didn't do it. If it helped, I did it. By the end of that year, I'd completed 3 major projects that had been sitting unfinished for months. Not because I got better at time management, because I became a different person, someone who finishes. And that's what the Christmas question does. It shows you the one thing you need to become. Then you spend the year becoming it. Christmas is about gifts. Everyone gives them. Everyone receives them. But the most important gift isn't under a tree. It's what you give yourself. And most people never give it. The gift is capability. The ability to do something you can't do right now. That's the only gift that actually changes your life. Everything else is just temporary pleasure. When I gave my workers $5 a day back in 1914, people thought it was charity. It wasn't. It was capability. Before that, my workers made $2 a day. They could barely survive, couldn't save, couldn't plan, couldn't build anything. They were stuck in survival. $5 a day changed that. Not because $5 is magic, because it gave them capability they didn't have before. The capability to save, to plan, to think beyond next week, to build something. That capability changed everything about how they lived, not just in 1914, for the rest of their lives. Because once you have capability, you can't lose it. Even if you lose the money, you keep the ability. Most people give themselves things for Christmas. Objects, experiences, comfort. Those are fine. But they don't change anything. You're the same person with more stuff. The gift you should give yourself is capability. The ability to do something you can't do now. Think about who you want to be next Christmas. What does that person know how to do that you don't know how to do now? That's your gift. Not something you buy, something you build in yourself. There was a man named William who worked in my factory. Good worker, showed up every day, did what he was told. But he wanted more. Wanted to move up. Wanted to lead. Every year he'd tell me his goal. I want to be a foreman next year. Next Christmas would come. He'd still be doing the same job, same position, same pay. This happened 3 years in a row. Finally, I asked him a different question. I didn't ask what he wanted. I asked who he needed to become. He looked confused, so I explained. William, foremen need capability you don't have yet. They need to read blueprints. They need to plan workflows. They need to manage other workers. Do you have those capabilities? He admitted he didn't. So I asked another question. What are you giving yourself this Christmas that builds those capabilities? He had no answer. He was giving himself rest, celebration, time off. Nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't building capability. So I made him an offer. Spend 1 hour every day between now and next Christmas building one of those capabilities. Learn to read blueprints. Start with that. 1 hour a day. That's it. He did it. Started spending his lunch breaks learning blueprints. Asked the foreman questions. Studied the drawings. Made mistakes and learned from them. By the next Christmas, he could read blueprints better than half the foreman. And when a position opened up, he got it. Not because he wanted it more, because he'd built the capability. He'd given himself the gift that actually mattered. That's what I'm asking you to do this Christmas. Stop giving yourself things that don't change you. Give yourself capability, the ability to do something that moves you toward who you want to be next Christmas. December is when the year dies, and like anything that dies, it reveals truth. Things you couldn't see while it was alive. Most people avoid looking at this truth. They want to remember the good parts, forget the bad parts. Pretend the year went better than it did. That's a mistake. The dying year is giving you gifts, painful gifts, but gifts. Every failure this year was a gift, every setback, every disappointment, every plan that didn't work, every relationship that ended, every goal you didn't hit. All of it is information. Information about what doesn't work, what to avoid, what to change. And if you're willing to look at it honestly, that information is more valuable than any success you had. Because success can teach you what works, but failure teaches you what to stop doing. And knowing what to stop is just as important as knowing what to start. I used to hate looking back at my failures. Made me feel like I'd wasted time, wasted effort, wasted opportunity. But then I realized something. The year was already spent. The time was already gone. The only question was whether I'd learn from it or waste it twice by refusing to look at what it taught me. So every December, I did what I call the year autopsy. I wrote down every major failure from that year, every project that didn't work, every decision that cost me, every relationship that drained me, every habit that held me back. Then next to each one, I wrote what it revealed. Not why it failed, what it revealed about what I needed to change. 1 year I had a business partnership that fell apart. We'd been working together for months, building something I thought would be big. Then in October it collapsed. My partner left, took some of our plans, started his own thing. I was angry, felt betrayed, spent weeks replaying it in my mind. But when December came and I did the year autopsy, I had to look at it honestly. What did this failure reveal? The answer was uncomfortable. It revealed I'd ignored warning signs because I didn't want to have a hard conversation. My partner and I had different visions from the start. I knew it, but I didn't address it, didn't want the conflict, didn't want to risk the partnership. So I pretended we were aligned when we weren't, and that pretending cost me months of work. The failure revealed something I needed to change. I needed to become someone who has hard conversations early, who addresses misalignment when it's small instead of waiting until it destroys everything. That lesson was worth more than the partnership, because it changed how I approached every relationship after that. I started having hard conversations early, started addressing misalignment immediately, started being honest even when it was uncomfortable. And that one change saved me from dozens of failed partnerships in the years that followed. That's what the dying year gives you, lessons wrapped in failure. And if you're willing to unwrap them, to look at what they're revealing, they change everything about how you approach the next year. Christmas forces truth in a way no other time does. You're sitting at a table with people who've known you all year, maybe longer, family, friends, people who remember what you said you'd do, what you promised yourself, what you were excited about in January. And now it's December. Did you become who you said you'd become? Did you build what you said you'd build? Did you change what you said you'd change? Or are you sitting in the same chair as last Christmas, the same person with one less year? That truth is brutal. Most people avoid it. They make excuses, talk about how hard the year was, how circumstances got in the way, how they'll definitely do it next year. I did that once. Sat at Christmas dinner making excuses for why 1920 hadn't gone the way I planned. My wife Clara listened. Didn't say anything, just listened. After dinner, she asked me a question that I'll never forget. She said, "Henry, are you going to spend 1921 explaining why 1920 didn't work? Or are you going to spend it building something that does?" That question hit hard, because she was right. I had a choice. I could spend the next year making excuses for this year, or I could spend it actually building. But I couldn't do both. Excuses and building don't happen at the same time. You're either explaining why you didn't, or doing what you said you would. That Christmas was my reckoning. I had to admit I'd wasted most of 1920. Not on bad circumstances, on avoiding hard decisions, on staying comfortable when I needed to be uncomfortable, on playing small when I knew I should be playing big. And that admission hurt, but it also freed me, because once I stopped making excuses, I could start making changes. The Christmas reckoning isn't about feeling bad. It's about seeing clearly. You can lie to yourself all year, but when you're sitting at that table with people who know you, with another year gone, the truth becomes obvious. Either you became who you said you'd become, or you didn't. Either you built what you said you'd build, or you didn't. Either you changed what you said you'd change, or you didn't. And if you didn't, the only question that matters is why. Not circumstances, not bad luck, not other people. Why didn't you become who you said you'd become? The real reason. The honest reason. For me that year, the real reason was fear. I was afraid of what I'd lose if I went all in on what I really wanted to build. Afraid of looking foolish if it didn't work. Afraid of leaving behind the comfortable path for the uncertain one. So I stayed small, stayed safe, stayed stuck. And a whole year passed with nothing to show for it except more comfort and more regret. The Christmas reckoning made me see that clearly, and seeing it clearly made me change it. I decided right there at that Christmas table that 1921 would be different. Not because I hoped it would be, because I was going to become someone different starting that night. Someone who acted despite fear. Someone who chose the uncertain path over the comfortable one. Someone who went all in instead of holding back. And 1921 was different. Completely different. Not because circumstances changed, because I changed. And that change started with the honesty of the Christmas reckoning. Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. You know the song. Everyone does. But most people miss what that silence actually gives you. Christmas night. Everyone's asleep, full from dinner, tired from the day, content. The world goes quiet in a way it doesn't any other time. No work, no obligations, no noise, just silence. And in that silence, if you're willing to sit in it instead of filling it, your real thoughts emerge. Not the ones you think all day, the real ones. The thoughts you've been avoiding, the truth you've been running from, the desires you've been suppressing, the fears you've been hiding. All of it comes up in the silence. I used to avoid that silence, fill it with something. Reading, tinkering, anything to keep my mind busy. Because I knew what happened when it got quiet. I'd have to face things I didn't want to face, admit things I didn't want to admit, see things I didn't want to see. But one Christmas I stopped avoiding it. Sat in my workshop on Christmas night. No lamp, no work, just sitting in the dark silence. And everything I'd been avoiding all year came up. I'd been telling myself I was happy with how things were going. But in that silence I admitted I wasn't. I was playing small, building things that were fine but not great, saying yes to opportunities that paid well but didn't excite me, living a comfortable life that felt hollow. The silence revealed all of that, showed me I was lying to myself about being satisfied, showed me I wanted more but was too afraid to go after it, showed me I was wasting my life on fine when I could be building great. That was painful to see. But seeing it changed everything, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending. You have to either change or live with knowing you're choosing to stay stuck. The silent night isn't about peace. It's about truth. When everything else goes quiet, what's left is what actually matters, what you actually want, what you're actually afraid of, what you're actually avoiding. Most people fill the silence because they don't want to hear those things. They're afraid of what they'll discover, afraid they'll realize they've been wasting time, wasting life, building the wrong things. But that fear is exactly why you need the silence, because what you're avoiding is what you need to face. And Christmas night, when the world goes quiet and nobody's watching, and you can't distract yourself with work or obligations, that's when you can finally face it. This Christmas night, don't fill the silence. Sit in it. Let your real thoughts come up. Let the truth emerge. Ask yourself the hard questions. Am I building what I actually want to build, or what I think I should build? Am I becoming who I actually want to become, or who other people expect me to be? Am I living the life I want, or the life that's comfortable? And whatever answers come up in that silence, write them down, because that's the truth. That's what you actually think when you stop performing for everyone else. And that truth is what you build your 2026 on. January 1st is a lie. It's an arbitrary date on a calendar. It doesn't mean anything. But people treat it like it's magic, like something changes at midnight on December 31st, like you become a different person when the number changes. You don't. January 1st, you're the same person you were December 31st. Same habits, same thoughts, same patterns. The only thing that changed is the calendar. That's why New Year's resolutions fail, because they're built on the lie that January 1st is a fresh start. It's not. The only thing that creates a fresh start is a decision, and decisions don't wait for January 1st. I never made a New Year's resolution in my life, not one, because I understood they don't work. What I did instead was make December decisions. Before December ended, I decided what my next year would be. Not hoped, not wished, decided. There's a difference between a resolution and a decision. A resolution is something you'll try to do. A decision is something you will do. Resolutions have escape routes built in. If it gets hard, you can quit. If it takes too long, you can give up. If it doesn't work immediately, you can say it wasn't meant to be. Decisions don't have escape routes. You decided. Now you execute. No matter how hard, no matter how long, no matter what. That difference changes everything. When you make a resolution, part of you is already planning to fail. When you make a decision, failure isn't an option. You'll figure out how to make it work because you already decided it will work. December 1925. I made a decision. Not a resolution, a decision. I was going to change how automobiles were manufactured. Not improve it, change it completely. I didn't know exactly how yet, didn't have all the details, didn't have the full plan, but I decided it would happen in 1926. That decision changed everything about how I spent the next 12 months. Every action went through that filter. Does this move me toward changing manufacturing or away from it? If toward, I did it. If away, I didn't. No exceptions, no compromises, no escape routes. By the end of 1926, manufacturing had changed. The assembly line was working, production was faster, costs were lower, everything was different. Not because I got lucky, because I'd made a decision in December 1925 and spent 12 months executing it. That's what December decisions do. They remove the option to quit. They force execution. They create results that resolutions never create. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Before December ends, make a decision about 2026. Not a resolution, a decision. What will you do? Not try, not attempt, not hope. What will you actually do? Be specific. Write it down, date it, sign it, make it real. Then spend the next 12 months executing that decision no matter what. That's how you make 2026 different from 2025. Not by hoping things get better, by deciding they will, and acting accordingly. January 2nd is when you see who's serious. January 1st, everyone's motivated, everyone's excited, everyone's starting their resolutions with energy and hope. Gyms are packed. Productivity apps are downloaded. Grand plans are announced. Then January 2nd comes, and 90% of people are already slipping, already making excuses, already finding reasons why today isn't the right day to start, already postponing until tomorrow. By January 7th, most resolutions are dead. People are back to their old patterns, old habits, old excuses. They tried for a week. It didn't transform them immediately, so they quit. I watched this happen every year at my factories. January 2nd, I'd see who was actually going to change and who was just performing change. The performers showed up tired, started making excuses, talked about how hard it was, looked for sympathy. The serious ones showed up ready. No excuses, no complaints, just execution. They'd made decisions in December. January 2nd was just another day of doing what they'd already decided to do. That's the difference December decisions make. When January 2nd comes and the motivation fades and the excitement dies and the reality of hard work sets in, you're still going. Not because you feel like it, because you decided. And decisions don't require feelings, they just require execution. Here's what makes January 2nd powerful. It's the first real test. January 1st doesn't count. Everyone can show up January 1st. The real question is, who shows up January 2nd when nobody's watching? When there's no excitement? When it's just work? If you started your change in December like I'm telling you to, by January 2nd you're already 30 days in. You're not starting, you're continuing. And continuing is easier than starting. The people who wait for January 1st have to start on January 2nd. And starting is hard when everyone around you is already quitting. But if you started in December, you're past that. You've got momentum. You've got proof it works. You've got 30 days of evidence that you can do this. And that momentum carries you through January when everyone else is falling off. That's the advantage of December decisions over January resolutions. By the time the resolution people are quitting, you're just hitting your stride. By the time they're making excuses, you're making progress. By the time they're giving up, you're locked in. And by the end of January, the gap between you and them is so wide they can't catch up even if they restart. That gap compounds over the year. By December, you've built something real while they're still talking about what they were going to build. I'm going to give you a practice I've used every Christmas for 40 years. It's simple, but it works better than anything else I've tried. On Christmas Day, write a letter to yourself, but not about the past, about the future. Write the letter from next Christmas, from the version of you sitting at Christmas dinner 2026. And in that letter, tell yourself everything that happened in 2026, everything you built, everything you became, everything you changed. Write it like it already happened, because in your mind, it has. Be specific. Don't write, I started a business. Write, I launched the business in March. First month, we made $2,000. By December, we were at $15,000 a month. Don't write, I got healthier. Write, I lost 35 pounds. I can run 3 miles without stopping. I sleep 7 hours every night. Don't write, I became more confident. Write, I spoke at 3 events. I had hard conversations with 5 people. I said no to things that weren't right for me 12 times. Specific details, specific numbers, specific actions. Write the letter like you're reporting what actually happened, not what you hope will happen, what happened. Then read that letter every week between now and next Christmas. Every week. Let your mind see that future as real, as done, as certain. Because what your mind sees as real, your actions will create. Most people plan by looking at where they are and figuring out what they can do from here. That keeps them stuck. Because where you are limits what you think is possible. But if you write from where you want to be, if you describe the future like it's already done, your mind stops asking if it's possible and starts asking how to make it real. That shift changes everything. I started doing this in 1908. Wrote a letter to myself from Christmas 1909. In that letter, I described building an automobile that working people could afford. described seeing them drive it, described how it changed their lives. I wrote it like I'd already done it, like it was history, not hope. Then I read that letter every Sunday for a year. By Christmas 1909, I hadn't built it yet, but I was close. I'd made decisions, taken actions, built prototypes, all moving toward that future I'd described. By 1913, the Model T was real, and it happened exactly like I'd written in that letter. Not because the letter was magic, because writing it made the future feel real. And when the future feels real, you act differently today. You make different choices, take different risks, say yes to different opportunities, all moving toward the future you've already seen. So write your future letter this Christmas. Be detailed, be specific, be honest about who you want to be and what you want to have built by next Christmas. Then read it every week. Let it guide every decision you make in 2026. And by next Christmas, when you read it again, you'll see how much of it came true. Not all of it, maybe, but more than you think possible right now. The dying year needs to take some things with it. Things that don't serve you. Things that hold you back. Things that need to die so the new year can start clean. Most people carry everything forward. Same habits, same relationships, same priorities, same thoughts. Then they wonder why the new year feels like the old year. Because it is the old year with a different number. If you want 2026 to be different from 2025, something has to die in December. Something has to end. Something has to get cut. And you're the one who has to cut it. Not circumstances, not other people. You. Before December ends, you need to identify what's dying with this year. What habit are you leaving in 2025? What relationship are you ending? What priority are you dropping? What thought pattern are you killing? What excuse are you done making? Write it down. Be specific. Then make the cut. Don't take it into 2026. Let it die with 2025. This is hard. Because you've been carrying these things for a long time. They're familiar. They're comfortable. Even if they hurt you, they're known. And known feels safer than unknown. But here's what I learned. What got you here won't get you there. The person you were in 2025 created the life you have at the end of 2025. If you want a different life in 2026, you need to be a different person. And different people don't carry the same baggage. December 1919. I had to make a cut. There was a relationship I'd been maintaining for years. Business associate. We'd worked together on several projects, made some money together. But it wasn't working anymore. Our visions had diverged. What I wanted to build, he thought was risky. What he wanted to build, I thought was small. But I kept the relationship going because it was comfortable, because cutting it felt harsh, because I didn't want the conflict. That relationship cost me all of 1919. Every decision went through him. Every move required his approval. Every idea got diluted by his caution. And by December, I'd built nothing that mattered, nothing that excited me, nothing that moved me forward. I was stuck, maintaining a relationship that had died years ago, but neither of us wanted to bury. So in December 1919, I made the cut, had the hard conversation, ended the business relationship. It was uncomfortable. He was hurt. I felt guilty. But it was necessary, because that relationship was dying anyway. The only question was whether I'd let it die naturally over years, taking my progress with it, or whether I'd end it cleanly and move forward. I chose to end it. And 1920 was completely different. I made decisions without filtering them through someone else's fear. I took risks without needing approval. I built what I actually wanted to build. That one cut in December 1919 changed everything about 1920. Not because the relationship was bad, because it was over and I finally admitted it. I'm going to give you 2 practices to do before Christmas. These will prepare you for 2026 better than any resolution. First practice, the honest year review. Take out paper. Write down everything you said you'd do in 2025. Everything you were excited about in January. Every goal you set. Every change you planned. Every promise you made to yourself. write it all down. Then next to each thing, write what actually happened. Be honest, brutally honest. Did you do it? Did you even start it? Or did you forget about it by March? This isn't about feeling bad, it's about seeing patterns. What kinds of things do you commit to but never do? What kinds of changes do you plan but never make? What kinds of promises do you make to yourself but never keep? Those patterns reveal something about how you approach change. And if you don't see the patterns, you'll repeat them in 2026. After you write down what you said you'd do and what actually happened, ask one question for each gap. What stopped me? Not circumstances. What actually stopped me from doing what I said I'd do? Fear? Comfort? Distraction? Lack of clarity? Lack of commitment? Write the real reason, not the excuse, the real reason. This shows you what you need to kill before 2026 starts. What pattern needs to die? What habit needs to end? What thought needs to change? Do this practice before Christmas. Face what 2025 actually was instead of what you wish it was. That honesty is what creates real change. Second practice, the future self-description. Write a description of who you are on December 25th, 2026. Not who you want to be, who you are. Write it in present tense, like you're describing yourself to someone who doesn't know you. I am someone who. Write 10 sentences. Be specific about behaviors, not outcomes. Don't write, I am someone who has a successful business. Write, I am someone who works on my business 3 hours every morning before checking messages. Don't write, I am someone who is confident. Write, I am someone who is confident, who speaks up in meetings even when I'm nervous. Don't write, I am someone who is disciplined. Write, I am someone who does what I said I'd do even when I don't feel like it. Behaviors, actions, specific things you do, because that's who you need to become. Not someone with better results, someone with better actions. And when your actions change, results follow automatically. Write those 10 sentences. Read them every morning in December. Let them show you who you're becoming. Then in January, when you make decisions, ask yourself, would the person I described make this choice? If yes, make it. If no, don't. That's how you become that person. Not by trying, by making choices that person would make until you are that person. Christmas is almost here, and you have a choice to make. You can celebrate it the way most people do. Rest, enjoy, consume. Look back at the year that passed. Make vague plans for the year ahead. Then wake up January 1st, hoping things will be different without having decided to make them different. Or you can use Christmas the way I'm showing you, as a strategic moment, a decision point, a time to look honestly at who you've been this year and decide who you'll be next year, to cut what needs to die, to plan what needs to be built, to make December decisions instead of January resolutions. That second path isn't comfortable. It requires honesty that hurts. It requires cutting things you've been holding on to. It requires deciding when you don't have all the answers yet. It requires starting before you feel ready. But that second path is also the only one that creates real change. The only one that makes 2026 actually different from 2025. The only one that moves you from where you are to where you want to be. The gift you give yourself this Christmas isn't something you can wrap. It's not something you can buy. It's not something anyone else can give you. The gift is clarity, honesty, decision. The gift is becoming someone different starting right now, instead of waiting for some perfect moment that never comes. I gave my workers $5 a day, but that wasn't really the gift. The gift was what $5 a day made possible. The ability to build, to save, to plan, to become something more than they were. The money was just the tool. The gift was capability. That's what I'm asking you to give yourself this Christmas. Not things, not comfort, not rest. Capability. The ability to become who you need to become. And that capability comes from the practices I've shown you. The honest year review, the future self-description, the December decisions, the future letter, the cuts you make before the year dies, Those practices build capability. The capability to see yourself clearly, to decide what you actually want, to commit completely, to act despite uncertainty, to become someone different. That capability is worth more than anything under a tree, because that capability changes everything. Not just 2026, every year after, for the rest of your life. So give yourself that gift. Start today. Don't wait for Christmas Day. Don't wait for New Year. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start right now with the honest year review. Face what 2025 actually was. See what it revealed. Decide what dies with it and what you're building in 2026. That decision, made right now, changes everything about the year ahead. Change doesn't happen slowly. That's a lie we tell ourselves to avoid discomfort. Change happens in moments, sudden moments, decision moments. One moment you're one person, the next moment you're someone else. Not because time passed, because you decided. I've watched thousands of people try to change over the years. The ones who succeed change fast. They decide one day, then they act differently starting that day. They don't ease into it. They don't transition slowly. They don't give themselves adjustment periods. They just change. One day there's someone who makes excuses. Next day there's someone who executes. One day there's someone who plays small. Next day there's someone who takes big swings. One day there's someone who avoids hard conversations. Next day there's someone who addresses problems immediately. The change isn't gradual, it's instant. The execution of that change takes time, but the decision is immediate. The people who fail at change try to do it gradually. They say things like, "I'm working on it," or "I'm getting better," or "I'm trying to change." That language reveals they haven't decided yet. They're still in the trying phase, still giving themselves permission to stay the same, still keeping escape routes open. And as long as the escape routes exist, they'll use them. Because change is uncomfortable. And when discomfort comes, if there's an escape route, you'll take it. You'll go back to comfortable, back to familiar, back to who you were. The only way to actually change is to close the escape routes, to decide completely, to commit totally, to become someone different right now, not eventually. This Christmas, you're at a decision point, and decision points are rare. Most of the year, you're in execution mode, just doing what you've been doing, following patterns, running programs. But Christmas creates a natural pause, a moment where you can step back and see clearly, where you can decide to be someone different starting right now. Most people waste that moment. They use the pause to rest, then go right back to their patterns in January. But you don't have to do that. You can use this moment to change, to decide, to close the escape routes and commit to becoming someone different. Not in 2026, right now, today, this moment. That decision, made right now while you're listening to this, creates a before and after in your life. Before this moment, you were someone with patterns and habits and excuses. After this moment, you're someone different, someone who decided, someone who committed, someone who closed the escape routes. The execution of that decision takes 12 months, but the decision itself takes one moment, this moment. So decide, right now. Who are you going to be by next Christmas? What are you cutting today that's been holding you back? What are you starting today that you've been avoiding? What are you committing to today completely? No escape routes, no backup plans, no trying, just deciding and doing. Make that decision right now. Say it out loud. I am becoming who you want to be. Starting right now. Not I'm going to try. Not I want to. I am becoming. Present tense, immediate, certain. That decision changes everything. Next Christmas, you'll be sitting somewhere. Maybe the same chair. Maybe a different one. Maybe with the same people. Maybe different ones. But you'll be there. And you'll look back at this Christmas, this moment, this decision, and you'll see one of two things. Either you'll see that this was the moment everything changed, the moment you decided and committed and became someone different, the moment that created a completely different year. Or you'll see that this was just another Christmas, another moment of good intentions that faded by February, Another year that could have been different but wasn't. Which one you see depends on what you do right now. Not tomorrow, not January 1st, right now. I've had both kinds of Christmases. The ones where I decided and changed everything, and the ones where I didn't decide and wasted another year. I can tell you from experience which one feels better. The Christmas where you look back and see real change, real growth, real results from a decision you made 12 months ago. That Christmas feels earned, feels proud, feels like progress. The Christmas where you look back and see another wasted year, another set of broken promises to yourself, another 12 months of same patterns creating same results. That Christmas feels hollow, regretful, disappointing. You don't want the second one. Nobody does. But most people get it because they don't make real decisions. They make wishes, they make hopes, they make resolutions, but they don't decide. So make the decision today. Become someone different starting right now. Execute that decision for the next 12 months. And next Christmas, when you look back, you'll see this moment as the moment everything changed. Listen to this again tomorrow, and the day after, and every day until Christmas. Each time you listen, you'll hear something new, something that applies to exactly where you are that day. The message will sink deeper each time. Your commitment will get stronger. Your clarity will sharpen. And by Christmas, you'll know exactly who you're becoming and exactly what you're building in 2026. This isn't just a Christmas message. It's a blueprint, a strategy, a way to use December that changes everything about your next year. But it only works if you use it, if you do the practices, if you make the decisions, if you become someone different starting today. So start today. Do the honest year review tonight. Write your future letter on Christmas. Make your December decisions before the year ends. Cut what needs to die. Commit to what needs to be built. And by next Christmas, your life will be unrecognizable from where you are today. Not because of luck, not because of circumstances, because you decided to become someone different and spent 12 months executing that decision. That's how you change your 2026. That's how you make next year completely different from this year. That's the Christmas message that actually matters. Start today. Good luck.